Hello everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of our Express with Ease segment on VUTV By Vijaybhoomi. It's a special weekly episodic segment where we discuss topics of great importance and that require immediate attention with students. Today being no different, we have with us Akshit Taneja, Suraj Kumar, and Ashwani Bhatnagar from JAGSoM Bangalore. They are the PGDM students and they are pursuing their finance and measures. Today we are going to discuss about an important topic which has been in the news for for a week as of now. We are going to analyze the union budget of 2022, and being the students of finance, they can share a better perspective about our options and about the perspective what are the expectations of the nation from this budget. The Union Budget 2022 had been a kind load of expectations for a lot of people. The economy has been slowing in recent years. And adding to that, the global pandemic of the novel coronavirus has also resulted in massive unemployment, starvation, malnutrition, destitution, and poverty. The additional challenge is that the tax revenue collections have been taken up since biggest hit since the pandemic has begun. In such a crisis, what were the expectations of the budget of the common people, and what were the expectations by the poverty, the people who are in the below poverty line? Were they meet exactly, and how does it also satisfy, appeal the country's youth? We are going to discuss in today's episode. Thank you guys for joining us for today's panel discussion. I hope you would be having a great discussion at the end. So starting with off, I want to ask Akshay, what were your preliminary views or perspective about the Union Budget 2022?
See, the Union Budget 2022 was very critical for the country and the economy as a whole, because the economy had been recovering from the COVID-19 slump. So the budget had to ensure that there was enough corpus available for the government to increase their public investment so that we can somehow increase the consumption and drive the GDP in the right direction. This budget, if you look at the current budget, the government has made sunrise opportunities as one of its core themes. So what is a sunrise opportunity or a sunrise industry? A sunrise industry is basically an industry where we are putting our first step forward. And it is the first opportunity that has been offered to different citizens of India. So under the new budget, the sunrise industries were given a lot of importance. One of them being the defense sector. If you look at the allocation being made to different sectors in the budget, defense has got the highest allocation. And there are certain reasons which I can explain, but just to give the introduction part, defense is a very critical factor in this budget, and in the defense sector, the highest allocation has been given to R&D. So what we are trying to promote is we are trying to promote domestic production and indigenization of various defense equipments and arms. Earlier, India was one of the highest importers of defense products from around the world. Under the new government and under the new vision of the government, we are trying to become a net exporter of defense products. And therefore, this budget has made high allocations for R&D. So what will happen is many firms which are now participating in the defense sectors, these are basically Indian startups or Indian conglomerates like L&T Defense or Mahindra and Mahindra Defense. So if these companies get the funds which are required to develop such products, then overall in the coming next 5 to 6 years, we'll get a defense manufacturing ecosystem in the country. It will not only make us self-reliant or Atmanirbhar as a PM says, but it will also create job opportunities in the country, and it will make India not only a market for different sellers, but India will now supply its own products to different markets around the world, and it will also create jobs in the economy. So this is one of the key features of the defense budget this time, that we are pushing towards self-reliancy.
Great, Akshit. I guess you have properly summarized about what was the importance of allocating a lot of budget or allocating a massive sum of budget for the defense. And as you mentioned about the self-reliance part of the defense and talking about the net exporter, that was a good point, and that was crucial to know why we are spending a lot of money in the defense, and why it's the country, the nation, and the government is trying to strengthening the defense. So going ahead, Suraj, could you also share your perspective about the union budget?
The union budget seeks to complement this that macroeconomic level growth with a focus on macroeconomic level with all inclusive welfare. And this I want to just give a key highlight of the budget as follows. Means like our India economic growth at 9.2% to be highest among all large economies, and now 60 lakh new jobs to be created under the productivity linked incentive schemes in 14 sector, and PLI schemes have potential to create an additional production of rupees 30 lakh crore. And now this budget, the government says that we are entering in a Amrit Kal, and the Amrit Kal is that the 25-year long lead up to the India. At the rate of the budget provides impetus growth of the four priorities. Like you can say that PM Gati Shakti, inclusive development, productivity enhancement, financing of enhancement. And now we can say that in PM Gati Shakti, we all know that PM Gati Shakti is the mainly focus on the infrastructure, like road, railways, airports, ports, mass transport, waterways, and logistic infrastructure. And this is a national master plan, and the project pertaining to this 7 engine to the national infrastructure pipeline with a PM Gati Shakti framework like road transport. The government is expanding at 25,000 kilometers in 2022, and rupee 20,000 crore to be mobilized for the national highway network expansion. Now we can also go for the infrastructure like one nation, one product concept to be help local business and supply chain. 2,000 kilometers of railway network to be brought under the coverage. And now the government is also giving one the Parvatmala project. Like before the 2 years, we can see that the one project came there Bharatmala project. Now also it comes like a Parvatmala project. It's like National Ropeway Development Program Parvatmala to be taken upon a PPP model, and the contracts to be awarded for 8 ropeways projects for 60 kilometer length. And now also we can focus on the agriculture part, and the government is expanding as like rupees 2.37 lakh crore direct payment to the 1.63 crore farmers for procurement of wheat and paddy. And now we know the one project came, that the Ken Betwa project. The Ken Betwa project is a river between Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. And so the government is planning to give a connectivity of the river, so the agriculture can be developed in a good ways. So and now also we can focus on MSME project like the 50,000 crore to be the total of 5 lakh crore to be projected, and 2 lakh crore additional credit for micro and small enterprises to be facilitated. Now we can focus in all the development and all things.
Great. I guess you have highlighted a lot of points about the union budget, and one of the most important points you have highlighted is the PM Gati Shakti, where they are aiming for a seamless last mile connectivity of the country, and also highlighted the aspects of the what was there for the farmers and the MSME people. So that was a great point. Moving ahead, Ashwani, we would be interested to know about your perspective about the union budget.
Yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on budget. So, as per my perspective, how I see this union budget of this year is it majorly focuses on ease of doing business 2.0. See, when Modi government came into picture in 2013, their main focus was to, increase investment in India so that investment will generate employment, and in a long term, it will create the welfare for the people. So they started demonetization, GST, insolvency, bankruptcy code, but these were laws compliances to, make doing business in India easy. But on ground level, that what other challenges comes in infrastructure. So when we talk of ease of doing business, for example, there is a production unit in a place and the demand is on another place. or the raw materials to supply at that production unit are on the another place. So as our co-panelist Suraj Kumar said regarding Gati Shakti project, so Gati Shakti project is completely in sync with making India in terms of better in terms of ease of doing business. So a synergy of the 7 engines will be created so that the logistic connectivity would be greater. So when it is greater, automatically, business will rise, economy will rise, and in a long term, this employment will be created. So this is one of the angles which I see. Another angle from which I see this budget is in the context of crypto, that's digital currencies. Digital currencies in the sense that as government has introduced a tax of 30% on either you make a loss or on profit of cryptocurrencies or virtual assets, as they have mentioned. So there is a question around that would cryptocurrency would be legalized in India. So I don't see the budget in the perspective of that cryptocurrency would be legalized or not legalized, but I see that when we see the history of India in context of money or managing assets or financial assets, our country has been very conservative in this approach, very, very conservative. And this conservative nature has only, made us prevent from the negative impacts of global recessions of 2008 or crisis or before financial crisis or the taper tantrum crisis of 2013. So the reason because we were, very conservative, and we are moving towards conservative nature. We are continuing this conservative nature in the cryptocurrency domain as well. So I see this budget as ease of doing business in India and a conservative approach towards financial assets.
Great, Ashwani. And the best part you highlighted about the ease of doing business and how the government is trying to facilitate all the means and all the support, as you mentioned about the scheme of PM Gati Yojana, how they're trying to connect the production units with the different marketplaces. So they are trying their best to supply to basically facilitate this ease of doing business, and also I guess also they're trying to for a better job creation, like creating putting much emphasis on entrepreneurship development, promoting entrepreneurship development, which indirectly aims for creation of more jobs. So moving ahead, you also highlighted about this point of the cryptocurrencies. So there was this common question which was floating in the social media. Is it key after this post-union budget, can it be assumed that the cryptocurrencies are legally accepted by the government?
And though I thought I have answered this question earlier also, but as per the budget, I don't think there is any indication that cryptocurrency would be legalized. Instead, it is an indication that government is trying to create a conducive environment for blockchain technology and virtual money. Virtual money may be crypto, may not be crypto, but the cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Ethereum, like trading, like anything, I don't think that it would be legalized in India. Instead, the tax rate is like a discouragement. So to not to invest as a student, in my view, it's a discouragement. So RBI is trying to introduce a digital rupee. So I think there would be virtual money which would be regulated. See, the most important thing with cryptocurrency is deregulation. Cryptocurrency is inherently deregulated. But as I told that our country has always followed a very conservative approach towards financial assets, and this has every time helped us. So I don't think cryptocurrency would be legalized as the inherent nature is deregulation. The digital currency which would be discovered or which would be implemented or circulated would be regulated under RBI or SEBI or other regulatory body. Another point I want to highlight what Akshit said about that Atmanirbharta in defense. So see, were a major importer of defense, and this budget has emphasized on making India an exporter of defense products. So if you see a pattern, if there are two main, agency we can say, ISRO and DRDO. When you talk about the growth of ISRO, it has been on a very competitive level with international agencies of other countries. But when it comes to DRDO, it is not at a very competitive level with other other defense producing units of other countries. So this specific budget is, is trying to make India the exporter by enabling DRDO. So making the growth trajectory of DRDO strong. So this was a point I want to add on.
Great analysis. I guess that was a perfect, great analysis which you highlighted about how it's the government is trying to promote DRDO. And also, we have already, as business students, we have already discussed one of the principle of economics is key people respond to incentives. So the incidence of tax is basically a negative response, is basically a negative incentive, which is the government is trying so that the people basically don't much focus on the cryptocurrency. So I guess that's the best part you highlighted. Probably also just asking to Suraj and Akshit, do you have a different opinion than Ashwani?
So we have I have a similar opinion as what Ashwini said. See, when we talk about a currency being legal in India, there are different aspects as to how you define that particular word legal. See, one thing is that the cryptocurrencies, as of now, after the budget, are nowhere close to being the legal tender in the country. See, a legal tender is like you can use that particular cryptocurrency to make payments in India, which is not possible. Yeah, you can say that after imposition of taxes, the government has somewhat allowed different investors in India to trade in cryptocurrencies, but it won't be used as a legal tender in India. So that is one thing. And I don't think in the future also cryptocurrencies will be allowed to be used as a legal tender in India. And this can be reconfirmed by RBI going on to introduce its own digital currency. So we will have only one digital currency which will be used as a legal tender in India, and that will be RBI's digital rupee. So that is one thing. But yeah, we have like not completely banned the trading of other cryptocurrencies because see, there's a fundamental difference between a currency and a cryptocurrency. See, a currency is backed by the central bank of any country. So a currency in flotation is a liability for any government. And as per the basic rules of accounts goes, if there is a liability in circulation, so then there has to be an asset of equivalent value placed in front of it. So those assets are foreign exchange reserves that balance our currency. But when we talk about the cryptocurrencies, we don't have any official assets that we have put in place as a control mechanism. So if we go by economics, so cryptocurrencies cannot be defined as a true currency, but they are something which are backed by a different technology. And this is a payment method which is coming out of a technology. So as of now, we have allowed trading in those currencies, but at the same time, we have imposed heavy taxation on it, as Ashwini mentioned. And you also said very rightfully that people respond to incentives. So imposition of tax will try to curb the trading of cryptocurrencies in India.
And also, I want to add the one point that the government also imposed a 30% tax on digital currency, on cryptocurrency, on that cryptocurrency. So I'm totally agree with Akshit and Ashwini told. And also, just I want to go ahead that also for any country, the public capital investment plays a very important role for any country. And if you will go by the data, then outlay for the capital expenditure stepped up sharply by 35.4% to rupees 7.50 lakh crore in 2022-23 from 5.5 lakh crore in the current year. So this is a very good sign for the economy of the country, and we can also say that if we say that the fiscal management of the this budget, then before the previous budget was at 34.83 lakh crore, and this one revised estimate for 2021-22 it is at 37.70 lakh crore, and the total expenditure is at 39.45 lakh crore. So government means, I want to say that the government is expending a lot, so it is a good for the country. If any government is expending more, and we'll also focus on the export part, then our economy can be grow, And also we can say that for this year, fiscal deficit in current year is a 6.9% of the GDP, and the government also targeted that for the next year. It can be the 6.4% of the GDP. So it will be very good sign for the country, and the country can be growing in a better ways.
Great, Suraj. I guess that pretty much you have summed it up quite well. There was another question that was there was a controversial topic. The budget was quite unfair for the middlemen. Like, what was there for the common man? Do you also think the same? If not, what's in them? Like, what was the important part for the common man we had in the budget? Which like as finance students, you can highlight what was there for the common man and what wasn't there. And there was a topic which was also in conflict. Based on the dialogue and response by the Nirmala, if you want to reduce the income tax, just reduce your income. So did we interpret it as a common man, or did we interpret it as wrong? And what was the interpretation did she meant by it? And how we can say that the budget was quite fair for the common man?
See, I want to give my views on this. See, when we talk about common man, the budget was not just against the common man. It was like there was no some direct, offers or direct discounts were given to common man. But if you see it in a holistic manner, not just this single budget, but the budget since Modi government came into picture. So in the initial years of the government only, they have introduced that till 5 lakh, you don't have to pay any type of income tax. The 12,500 is
Reduction.
Tax which you have to pay, that is also repeated. So in the early stage only, they have done a fair deal with the common man. Another angle, if you see that a common people are living in India. So if the conditions of India are improving, for example, if the logistics are improving, if they are getting things on their doorstep, if the governance is increasing, overall the macroeconomic indicators are increasing, then this pass on to the common man also. Yes, but I believe that this budget has not given something direct to common man. But yes, one thing was there regarding to tax compliances. So if you have any discrepancies in the tax, so you can backtrack, you can correct it on a backdated basis of 2 years, which was not which was not there earlier. So this is to prevent tax terrorism. So authorities, were indulging in very harsh activities of, getting tax and all. But then government has given ease to common man that you can just correct it on a backdated basis. So this was with the common man. But one thing which I felt which was negative about the budget was that there were many schemes which were introduced in earlier budgets. For example, smart cities, 100 smart cities in India. For example, we will double the farmer income. So what happened to those schemes? Where are those schemes? Nobody is talking. There was no mention of these schemes in the budget. Second important point is that our Indian growth is based on service sectors. And in service sector, when we talk, there is one major sector which is IT. Now, if you see, there was growth of large number of unicorns in India in 2021. But there is no schemes, no conducive environment, no progressive steps taken to, make this service sector more strong. So there was no future proactive steps for this thing. So this is one of the shortcomings which I felt.
Great, Ashwani. I guess you've highlighted some great points. And you mentioned about the tax terrorism. I guess one of the report I have studied where it was mentioned that only 2% of Indians are paying the income taxes. And also we have seen in the case of the Pandora paper leak, where a lot of celebrities, a lot of influencer people are putting their money in the tax haven and basically saving a lot of money, boycotting which we can say is the black money, and not paying as income taxes. So certainly the reduce, maybe they haven't changed anything in the income tax, because that's one of the stream of the that's one of the stream for the government, the revenue stream for the government. And even that also it is not highly efficiently they are utilizing, because they are not getting the enough sources of money which they are planned for. Even also, India doesn't have other income revenue streams like as we have seen in the case of Dubai or Singapore, where they have this entertainment, like the major chunk of money comes from the tourism and entertainment. So I guess income tax is one of the reliable factor of source of revenue for the government. So do Akshit, Suraj, do you have some points to share, add on?
With respect to taxation, or
Yeah, for the common man and the middleman. Was it unfair for the middleman?
see, from the taxation point of view, there were not many changes. Like it was expected also because see, India is recovering from a recessionary phase. So at this point of time, you cannot expect the government to cut taxes. Either the tax rates are going to stay, or you can expect certain increase in taxes also. See, what has happened is, like, government has not see, there are two types of taxation. One is direct tax, which is your income tax, and other taxes are indirect taxes. So when we talk about indirect taxes, the government has given certain incentives and tax breaks to MSMEs, like which was the most badly hit sector in the Indian economy. See, and to revive them is very critical for the industrial backbone of India. So we have given production-based incentives, like Suraj has talked about it previously also, and we have reduced some production taxes also. We have given subsidies also. So we have not given any relief on the profit that they have earned, which will become the direct tax, which is the income tax. But yeah, we are giving different incentives which are apart from the direct taxation. So we are focusing on production-based incentives, and we are focusing on indirect taxes. So at this point of time, it was more or less expected that the government will not give much relief when direct taxation is concerned.
Great.
Overall, if you see, government, this budget is more of a fiscal budget. This is not a monetary budget. So the government is like focusing on public expenditure and public investment to bring India out of the recession, and the trend has already started. We are making recovery. It's just that to boost the process of recovery, we need to infuse fresh capital, and that is what the government is intending to do. So if like through GST and through different taxes, the government's corpus will increase, and then that particular corpus will go into public investment, which will then eventually increase the output and drive our GDP forward. So I think it's a good step, considering the circumstances and situation the country is right now. It's a decent budget.
If I could just sum it up, I guess they're trying to have a circular flow of the economy. They're looking for more into circular flow of economy, where they're looking for funds collections and the corpus fund, they can flow it into the production, and more it would be indirectly beneficial for the consumers or the common man. I guess that's
They are trying to bring in as much money they can bring into the system, whether it is through internal sources or whether it is through FDI or foreign investments. We are trying to get as much capital as we can get in the economy. That is why the push for Make in India is becoming more harder day by day. We don't want companies to just come produce somewhere else and make India a market. The eventual goal is to come invest in India, create your manufacturing facility, and supply in India and export to other parts of the world from India. This is what the ultimate goal of the government is, and this budget is a reflection of that goal.
Great, Akshit. I guess you have highlighted about the perspective of how the government is trying to make India self-reliant. As Ashwani has talked about, there should be an inclusion of the previous talked about schemes of like the smart city scheme and the inclusion of the power scheme. So, Suraj, according to you, what changes you were thinking the government should have made in particular sectors?
Government has given the previous budget. Government has focused on the smart city, that Ashwini told, but they are not implementing. We can, if we go by the state and anywhere, then the government is not focusing in like 100 smart cities and all things. But now in this budget, government has also focused on the education and health, because if you'll go to the data and all things by education, then 1+1 TV channel program of PM e-Vidya to be expanded to 200 TV channels, and virtual labs and skilling e-labs to be set up to promote critical thinking skills and simulated learning environment. So government is focusing on also on education and like as an health, then an open platform for national digital health ecosystem to be rolled out. National tele mental health program for quality and mental health counseling and care service to be launched. But these all are focusing on, government is focusing, but it will be, if it will be implemented, then it will be good for the country. So we are thinking that it will be good for all, that government should focus on all the part. See, on the paper, government has made all the things. Like Akshit had told that government, this budget is mainly for recovering from COVID-19 pandemic. We have in COVID pandemic, the contraction of the GDP is like 26 point something percent. So we are just focusing on the empowerment and from how to roll out from the COVID-19 pandemic. So see, it will be good for the country.
Certainly, we are trying to revive from the situation of the COVID-19. So basically, this budget is aimed for revive. So moving ahead, Akshit, according to you, what changes should the government should make in the budget? Maybe you were expecting in this year, the government should have made some changes in the sectors.
I don't think like there is something specifically to be pointed out. Yeah, it was expected that the government will do something regarding cryptocurrencies. Like either there will be a complete ban on trading, or there will be a heavy taxation which will be announced, and the latter has been done by the government. As far as income tax point of view, they should have given some tax breaks when from the point of retail investors. Like there should be some relief on dividend income and all. That could have tried to boost the investment by retail investors into the capital markets further. But like overall, as I've said before also, I think the budget is quite balanced, and I don't think there was anything too radical which could have been done with the budget. But now we have to see what the budget translates into. Now this will be passed by the government in the parliament as a finance bill, and everything. The budget will come actually into existence. We'll see what happens, what gets cuts out and what remains in the budget, and we'll see how the economy responds and what makes up for the next budget.
Certainly, we are hoping for a best recovery from the existing state. And as you mentioned,
we have already started to make the recovery. This budget is more of a stimulus package. The focus is on self-reliancy, public investment, not giving up on taxes. So we are trying to improve the economy as soon as possible. Only thing we have to wait and watch is like when you infuse too much capital in the economy, there is chances of higher inflation stage in the economy. So we have to check how the RBI controls the inflation. That is through the monetary policy. That is not through the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is your budget and your government expenditure. But we'll have to see how the RBI tries to control the inflation using the monetary policy.
Certainly, I guess currently the world is seeing a case of the Turkey for the inflation thing. Shouldn't be repeating for the same in the India. As you mentioned, the infusion of capital can be threat for higher inflation. So yeah, certainly we would be hoping for the best. As you mentioned, this is not as part of the recovery, but more into improving the current stage. So great, guys. Thank you for sharing your analysis about the union budget. It was quite interesting, and was also quite insightful for the people who are joining us, who will be joining us in the future, and for all the viewers. Thank you for sharing us the perspective. Thanks for your time for joining us in today's discussion. And for all the viewers, I hope you had a great time over analyzing the union budget. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is on next Saturday. Thank you, guys.